In the last 25 years, there has been a massive shift, redistribution of wealth in this country from the middle class to the top 1/10 of 1%. 8 years ago, against my vote, the Congress bailed out Wall Street. I believe that now is the time to impose a tax on Wall Street speculation. And that tax alone will more than pay for free tuition at public colleges and universities and a significant reduction of student debt. Wall Street does not like that idea. And I say to Wall Street, your greed, your illegal behavior has done incalculable harm to the working families in this country. And whether you like it or not, you are going to start paying your fair share of taxes. I hear a lot. Let me tell you something that no other candidate for president will tell you, and that is that no president, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can do it alone. And the reason for that, and I'm just being honest with you, the reason for that is that the power of Wall Street, which has endless supplies of money, and I mean endless supplies of money, the power of corporate America, which can shut down factories today and move to China, the power of the corporate media, which will tell you everything that you don't need to know, but very little about what you need to know, the power of billionaire campaign contributions. These guys are very powerful, and they want it all. And the only way, in my view, that we can make the kinds of transformative changes that we need as a nation is when millions of people stand up and help create a government which works for all of us, not just the 1%. Now, everybody here knows a very profound lesson of American history, and that is that real change never takes place from the top on down. It is always from the bottom on up. A 100 years ago, workers in this country were working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Children were working in factories and losing their fingers and their hands in terrible machinery. Kids were working on farms and on plantations. But working people came together and they said, you know what? We are human beings. We are not beasts of burden. We are entitled to dignity on the job. We're going to form unions. And workers came together in their unions and took on large corporations, and they helped create the middle class of this country. 150 years ago, amidst the abomination of slavery in this country, African Americans and their allies looked at the ugliness and the suffering that was going on, and they said, our vision of America is that someday we will become a nation that ends racism and segregation and bigotry. We do not know or ever will know the number of people who died in that struggle, who were beaten, who went to jail, or who were lynched. But we do know that over the years, millions of people stood up and fought back to end racism in America. The children do not know this, but less than 100 years ago in America, women did not have the right to vote, could not get the education or the jobs they wanted. Women were told by the establishment and by the culture of the time that their function in life was to stay home and have babies. But women stood up and they fought back. Women went on hunger strikes. They went to jail and they sometimes died. But they said loudly and clearly that in America, women will not be second-class citizens. If we were here 10 years ago, no time at all, somebody would have jumped up and said, you know, Bernie, I think that by the year 2015, gay marriage will be legal in every state in this country. If somebody said that, the person next door would have said, you're crazy. It can't happen. There's too much homophobia. There's too much hatred in this country. It can't happen. But the gay community and their straight allies stood up and fought back. And they said something very profound. They said that in America, people should have the right to love whoever they wanted, regardless of their gender. If we were here 5 years ago, and somebody jumps up and says, you know, Bernie, there's $7.25 minimum wage. It's a starvation wage. We got to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. The person next to him would have said, $15 an hour? You are nuts. You are crazy. You are thinking too big. You want to more than double the minimum wage? Nuts. Can't be done. Maybe $10 an hour, maybe 11, but 15, too high. But what happened? What happened is workers in the fast food industry went out on strike. And they explained to the American people, you know what? We can't live on $7.25 an hour. And then interesting things started to happen. In Seattle, Washington, they raised the minimum wage $15. In Los Angeles and San Francisco, $15. In California and New York, $15 an hour. Here is my point. What the establishment wants you to believe is that we cannot achieve real change in America. They want us to believe that we are powerless and that the best that we can get is small, incremental changes. I have been all over this country, from California to Maine, and this is what I am seeing. I am seeing Americans, working class people, low-income people, middle-class people, looking around them, and they're saying, what is going on in this country? Why is it that I am working longer hours for lower wages, and almost all new income and wealth is going to the top 1%? Not acceptable! And they're looking around, and you're seeing women making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. Not acceptable! And they are seeing the infrastructure of this country collapsing right in front of their eyes. Not acceptable! And they are seeing our country maintain a corrupt campaign finance system that allows billionaires to buy elections, and they're saying, not acceptable. And they're looking around and they say, how does it happen that every other country provides guaranteed, paid family and medical leave to its people except America? Not acceptable. And why is it that we pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs? And why is it that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people? And why is it that our young people are leaving school $30,000 or $50,000 in debt? And why are we not more aggressive in taking on the fossil fuel industry and combating climate change? And that's what people all over this country are beginning to understand. And what they are also understand is that when we stand together, we can create a government that represents you and all of us, and not just the people of our country. And the American people also understand that Donald Trump cannot and will not ever become president of the United States. And it's not just that Trump, a billionaire, or at least he tells us he's a billionaire, who knows? Probably as broke as everybody else is, but he doesn't often tell the truth. But in any case, he wants to give hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to his fellow billionaire friends. This is a guy who changes his mind on every issue. What he says on Monday is negated on Tuesday, changed again on Wednesday. This is a guy who recklessly talks about using nuclear weapons. Our job is to rid this planet of nuclear weapons, not talk about using them. And most importantly, I think the American people understand that we will not and cannot elect a president who insults Mexicans and Latinos, who insults Muslims and women, who insults African Americans. I hope you all remember that before he was a candidate for president, Trump was one of the leaders of the so-called birther movement. What that movement was about was trying to undermine the legitimacy of the first African American president in our history. Trump will not be elected president because the American people understand that our strength as a people is in our diversity. My guess is if we looked at where every person here comes from, where if we looked at where what's going on, a medical problem? Okay, can we get a medic over there, please? We need a medic.
They're on their way.
All right, they're on their way. All right, let's make sure that this room, all right.